What it is? How's it going, everybody? Today we're going to be reviewing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. That's right. We're going to be talking about all the things. We're going to talk about the villains, the heroes, the madness. I'm being very vague because, we're what, 3 weeks, 4 weeks out now by the time this comes out? We're a lot of weeks out, but you might not have seen the movie yet. But if you have, and you want to hear our thoughts about it, sit back, relax, grab a snack, grab a beverage, and listen on in to the first ones to die.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the First Ones to Die podcast. We hope you're having a great Memorial Day weekend. If you live in the U.S., the day that this is coming out is Memorial Day, so we hope you had a good weekend. And if you're not in the U.S., then we hope you're just having a great Monday or whenever you're listening to this. Jerome, Alex, how you doing? How you doing, Jerome?
Good. I got shows to watch now. I've been watching We Own This City and The Baby on HBO Max, and those have been pretty good.
What is The Baby?
The Baby's a dark comedy that's currently on HBO Max that's more or less about the paranoias and fears that come with becoming a new mother through the lens of this woman who finds this baby that is getting a lot of people killed, and except her. So she has to deal with taking care of this really weird supernatural baby.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's a little funny. It's more like that dark comedy feel. So if you're not really into dark comedy, it might not be your bag. But it's interesting. But also, at the time of this recording, Obi-Wan Kenobi just came out. Watch that, the first few episodes of that. Looks good. Excited to see the rest of the show as the rest of the season comes out. And Stranger Things has come out. So I at least season 4, part 1. So watched all of that today, and it's good. Actually, this is the first Stranger Things season I've actually liked in a long time since season 1. So it's actually pretty decent. And if this is supposed to be like the last season, I think they say they're doing one more season after season 4.
Yeah, they said season 5 will be the last, which I had kept thinking that season 5 was this season, just because it feels like it's been on for more than 4 seasons, but apparently it's not.
So, but I'm excited to see how season 4 ends, how they finish it up, because these episodes have been long. Like each episode's like at least an hour or so long, if not longer. So it's getting good.
And once Netflix gets into the commercial game, they're going to be even longer.
I think they'll still keep raising prices before they do commercials.
No, they say the next thing is the commercials. That's coming.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Oh.
But it's gonna be like Hulu, where you can have a plan that doesn't have commercials, or you can have the lower price plan that does have commercials.
I don't know if it'll be worth it anymore, honestly. Then I'll just stay on Hulu.
And then also I gotta start The Time Traveler's Wife. I'm excited to start that on HBO Max as well. So I got a lot of shows to be watching, as well as comic books to read. Yeah, I like The Time Traveler's Wife, the movie. I haven't read the book. But I'm excited to see how it translates to a TV show, because the movie was pretty decent. I felt like it got a lot of the beats really well. So I'm curious how it translates into a show, because maybe they can flesh out more and do more. So that's where I'm at. Other than that, though, life-wise, I'm feeling good. Feeling all right.
Nice. And Alex, how have you been? What you up to?
I'm doing good. I'm doing more drawing and some creative projects. I'm trying to now go into graphic design and editing, because I really don't want to go back to the medical field. I enjoy Broken Bones, but not on a day-to-day basis anymore.
You enjoyed Broken Bones?
Enjoyed. Well, I do find those TikToks. You will find me on medical TikTok. Oh, I love those ear cleaning videos. You will catch me You will catch
Mhm.
me at 3 a.m. hanging out in my bed, after video, ear cleaning videos, especially. Oh, there is a show I watched on. I got Discovery Plus like the week trial. I didn't really keep it. There's a show there though. I really liked it. Wasn't too much of what I thought it'd be. It's called What They Pulled Out of Me.
I've heard of that show. Yeah.
Man, I thought it would be a little bit better. Honestly, I thought it'd be weirder stuff. Like a guy had a piece of glass on him from like an accident of car crash. Makes sense. Glass is very easy to actually kind of lose in your flesh. Um, I don't know if I still have it or not, but accidentally stabbed myself with a pencil when I was a kid. And the lead got so embedded, they're like, all right, we can either do surgery or just kind of leave it. And so they left it. I don't know if it's still in, I don't know if those type of things just stay in your system or whatnot. Um, but they did pull out a cricket from a kid's ear, which was interesting, and it was alive.
Yeah.
That was trippy. But so that's
on
what
Survivor one season. I remember a woman got a bug stuck in her ear when she was sleeping. Like
they showed like clips of different things people have gotten in their ears bug wise. Let me tell you, I sat up just sitting like this, like I wasn't ready to go to bed. That got me. I will admit.
You swallow a spider every night. At least
I doubt it.
I heard 7 spiders throughout your lifetime.
Yeah, I've heard like.
Nah.
But
what's going on in your? What? You have so many spiders in your house.
Just be coming down, and they're just like, I'll just burrow here for a little while. Just
But I also heard that rumor might not be true because
Alex's face.
I do not wish for a spider to be saying sweet nothings to me as they go into my mouth.
In that deep, low voice.
Yeah.
I also heard that rumor might not be true because like spiders and bugs and things like that, they can sense your like movement, but not only your movement, like your breath and your heartbeat. So as soon as they sense that or feel that, they go the opposite way.
Well, it's that whole thing, like spiders, they nest in like groups sometimes. So if you kill a spider, the other spiders are gonna know, hey, don't venture out into this area because the spiders we send out keep getting killed. So bugs are
get a little spider 40 and pour it out and be like, "This for the dead homies."
Yes.
So they're like this.
I've never read Charlotte's Web. And people have gotten on me about that, and I don't know what the fuss is about. But anyway, so I've been watching that show and just trying to, create a little portfolio, trying to create some designs and get my name out there. Because again, I don't want to go back to medical. I wouldn't mind it, but just rather move in a new direction. But other than that, been okay. Been awake most nights because of that.
I know Discovery Plus has some interesting, so to speak, content on it. I've never looked at what the content is, but I just know they do because they have such interesting content on their regular channel, like the Naked and Afraid.
Yeah, I would like recommend getting it for like the free trial for a week. But like, it's a wormhole. You watch an episode of something, you end up watching like everything. It's this weird wormhole of disturbingness because they also have the TLC in there, and we talked about the reality shows.
Oh yeah, like the 90 Day Fiance and stuff.
Yeah, they have like the reality shows in there. My Life at 600 Pounds and all these other weird shows, and just like you just end up finding these shows. Like, oh, I found this one show. I tried to watch an episode. This always gets me, because my mom was very particular about taking care of your feet because she's diabetic. And often when you're diabetic or you're unhealthy, your feet are the first things to go because of the way the blood flow is. I saw that show. I think it's called My Feet Are Killing Me. I went through one episode and I was like, nope, I'm going to go moisturize my feet. I'm going to put them in the massager to help with the blood flow. I need compression socks. Goodness. Just half an episode, like everything all my mother's warnings came back to me. And I was just like, yeah, no, I'm going to go take care of my feet. They're going to have a spa day. Like whatever I can to make sure my feet are good. So that is a wormhole of a streaming service I would warn people against, but I actually found it pretty interesting. So I had enjoyment. How about you, Jonathan? How you doing?
Good. And side note, I've been meaning to get. I'm gonna order that on Amazon like right after, as soon as we get off a foot scrubber because I need one of those. Like
Good.
I think I have my because I put lotion and stuff on my feet, but sometimes the heels get a little crusty. So
Why are we
I just
starting
need
this podcast talking about spiders and feet? All right, y'all
Hey,
are just out here.
hey.
Y'all have turned off at least 50%
Hey,
of the audience.
feet are
right
very
now.
important.
We were talking about selling feet pics yesterday.
Yeah, that was a private conversation, Jonathan. That wasn't on live.
Technically, if it helps, I mean, I was the only one talking about doing it. I'm okay with that. Look, I'm gonna need everybody's support if that happens. Even if you don't like it, you are my friends, and everybody has to support it. I support everybody in their adventures or ventures.
I'll buy one just to support. You don't have to send it to me.
I'm about to say that. I don't know about that. I'll just give you a donation, just an empty donation.
Donation.
You don't need to send me no pictures. I'm good.
I'll contribute to the fund.
Thank you. This got weird really quick. Continue on. You should get a foot scrubber though. You should take care of your feet because honestly, they are one of the first things to go when you get sick or you have any issues because again, it's the blood flow and things like that. And
take care of your feet.
That's what my mom always warned us about, like growing up, to care of your feet because it's a big diabetic issue too. And now she's all broken. She needs like a hip replace, a knee replace. She just got carpal tunnel surgery on both her hands, but her feet are great. No issues with her feet. She didn't take care of anything else, but her feet are good. So I advise a foot scrubber or a foot massager too. I have one. I'll send you my recommendation. I love it. I use it all the time. Great. Other than how's your weekend?
It's been good. It's been good. Busy, hectic, but I went to on Wednesday for any of my Survivor fans, and I talked about this last week, but I went to an official Survivor finale party. It was hosted by a few past players, a winner. His name is Wendell. I took a picture with him, took some photos with some other Survivor players. I went with my friend Carolina, and it was a lot of fun. I did not realize I've been watching Survivor since I was like 9 or 10. And I've never watched it with a crowd of people. It felt like I was at a Super Bowl. It felt like I was watching a Seahawks game. When something would happen, anything would happen, people would cheer. I loved it when people booed because I got in on that as well. There's one contestant whose name is also Jonathan, and he wasn't the fan favorite. And I was not a part of his fan club either. So when he would do things, the crowd would boo. But overall, it was a lot of fun, and I'll definitely do it again.
I got to see some of your stories, and there was one where everybody was watching a challenge, and people were so intense about it. It was so interesting to see. They were like, and then I can't recall the person succeeded or not, but they cheered anyway. So it was like, oh. I think it's fun to watch like those type of things with a big group of people that like with sporting events when there's challenges involved.
Right.
I don't like watching shows with people though. Because I get so irritated with people.
Doesn't that rule out like 95% of shows with people?
Not shows with people. I meant watching like a show with a person.
She means like having a person over and
yeah.
For a second I thought you meant I don't like watching shows that feature people.
I mean, I have been watching a lot of SpongeBob lately, so
okay, there might be something in that too.
You're trying to say fish ain't people? Fish lives don't matter?
Jesus. I'm not responding to that. What are we talking about today, Jonathan? That's our transition.
We are going to be talking about the movie, the anticipated movie. Well, it wasn't anticipated by me because all of a sudden it was like, wow, this movie's coming out and everybody's talking about it. It came out of nowhere. It's called Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, little indie film, made by a small company You might have heard of them, called Disney. You know, they're just a startup, just starting out.
Mhm.
You know, made it for a shoestring budget.
You guys aren't gonna go further.
I mean, you know, I could, but let's be honest. You know, we got things to do.
Fair enough.
Well, in this film, Doctor Strange, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, protects America Chavez, played by Zachi Gomez.
Yeah, don't ask me how to pronounce her name because I honestly cannot do it.
I think my first inclination would be Zachidi. Oh, that's not an I at the end.
Sochi.
Oh, Sochi.
Sochi.
Yep, it is Sochi. It says it phonetically on Wikipedia.
Nice.
Sochi Gomez, a teenager capable of traveling the multiverse, from Wanda Maximoff, played by Elizabeth Olsen.
See, that's your description, but that is what the movie was. But the IMDb description, I forget where it was. Like, it says Doctor Strange teams up with a mysterious teenage girl from his dreams who can travel across multiverses to battle multiple threats, including other universe versions of himself, which threaten to wipe out millions across the multiverse. They seek help from Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, Wong, and others. And that is the most misleading, like, description of this movie ever. And I'm sure they did that to avoid spoilers, but for the most part, it's like that is not what the movie is.
It's not what the movie is, but technically it is. It just takes it. So we're just gonna do spoilers off the bat because there's like,
well, no, we should do general thoughts because
why?
Like
why?
I said, well, like I said,
there's a lot of things to do. So let's.
Like I said, the intro. Some people haven't seen this movie yet. You haven't even seen Endgame yet, and that's been out for how many years now?
At this point, it's just like a thing I'm not gonna do because so many people are like not liking that I haven't seen Endgame. So like people
You're
are
doing
like
it to spite people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest.
As I said, when my mom is here, because I was talking to Kaylin and Jerome.
Hold on,
my mama raised a petty girl.
Hear this argument. Hold on, what's that?
Wait, what?
Oh no, I've lost all sound. I can't hear my friends.
Oh, he can't hear anything.
The multiverse is getting Jerome.
He's gonna be one.
Just go on without me for a little bit.
Literally, only I have seen it then. The other, so Jonathan.
So, spoiler alert to our audience: I have not had the time to see Doctor Strange. I wish I could have, but you know, we're getting a unique perspective here.
Here, I'm back now, so now I can hear what you said.
Okay, the multiverse got you. The multiverse got you
sucked in.
So
if, have to listen to the audio later when I edit this to find out what I missed.
If you have not seen Doctor Strange and are tuning into this podcast, then I will play the voice of you. I am giving the audience listener that has not watched the content a voice. So you're welcome.
Alex, go ahead and give your general thoughts about the movie. What did you think?
It was okay. I like multiverse theory. I'm really a big fan of that, but like the movie was like, okay, I like the effects. The effects were really good. The CGI was really good. That's what kind of more drew me in than even the story or the plot line. I did like that they're finally showing a Latin, you know, superhero. Is she a superhero?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, superhero. So that was nice to see on screen. Nice representation.
We're getting another one soon. DC's doing a Blue Beetle movie.
I don't know who that is.
I wouldn't expect.
And it's also
he's a little lower on the totem pole, but Blue Beetle's cool though. I'm excited for that movie.
We just had a discussion where DC is still not out of its emo stage, and all the movies start off dark and sad.
I would say they are, because Suicide Squad was like, you know, dark,
afterwards,
happy. You know,
afterwards,
after Wonder Woman 1984. Also pretty happy.
After the first Wonder Woman, where they had that weird like filter on it.
Aquaman
filter.
You can't make Jason Momoa sad.
Watch, Aquaman 2 is going to be depressing.
Possibly. Look, if I want to see a sad Mexican, I'll go look in the mirror. That's why I don't want my Mexican heroes to be sad.
I just have to mention that even though, you know, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, we're talking about that right now.
Mhm.
But I don't know if you guys have heard of Jamie Lee Curtis and her feud with Marvel at the moment.
No.
So Jamie Lee Curtis is gleefully feuding with Marvel over dueling multiverse movies. The Everything Everywhere
Oh
All at Once
yeah,
star
everything.
has
Oh,
That's a
seemingly
very
criticized
coincidental
the
situation
copycat
too.
poster and artificial green screen of her film's similarly themed rival, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. She conceded that she'll probably never appear in a Marvel movie. This is largely because the Everything Everywhere All at Once star has devoted much of her recent Instagram activity to playfully beefing with another film set in multiple parallel universes.
Nah,
Marvel's Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
they'll hire her if they ever feel like they have a role for her to do, and I'm sure she'd be happy to do it.
and
Because
honestly,
this sounds like it's in jest, you know.
I prefer the Everything Everywhere way more than this one, honestly.
A lot of people are right now.
And
It's
it's
Liking that
such a
as like the
coincidence that
multiverse
both came
movie.
out at the same time.
I mean, it happens like that. Remember the year we had 2 Hercules movies in the same year? We had Dwayne the Rock Johnson's Hercules based off the comic book, and then we had another Hercules movie that was more off the myth and sucked.
Or remember the
Not
remember
at
the
all.
remember the year when there was Olympus Has Fallen and White House Down?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember
That one I
that.
remember.
Mhm.
What are your general
Olympus Has
thoughts?
Fallen was way better.
I agree.
I saw neither one of those.
My
I saw
general
both.
thoughts for this
And
movie.
the sequel to Olympus Has Fallen. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm divided on this film. As the residential comic book like nerd on this channel, this was my time. And yet I don't know if I was satisfied. You know what it is? I went into this movie expecting it to be a Doctor Strange sequel. And in some ways it is that, definitely starts that way. But this movie has so many characters. We get to the halfway point, we're still introducing new characters. Like, and it's just, and it gets to the point where Doctor Strange starts to become like a background character in his movie, because there's just so many characters we're trying to focus on and wrap up and talk about, even though some of them are cameos, but still it's like it feels like it's pulling away from Doctor Strange, like having just a straight up Doctor Strange adventure. Even the character America's role in this story is way more important than Doctor Strange. It feels almost like it's her movie at times, and Doctor Strange is kind of just like her supporting character. So it's just weird that like how, like, you know, with the story. But direction wise though, I love the directing in this movie because I love Sam Raimi's movies. I love a lot of the horror elements of this film, which they said they wanted it to be more horror-esque, but and I don't know what Scott Derrickson, the original director, was going to do, but when he left the project and Sam Raimi was on, I was like, oh, that'd be interesting. I wonder what Sam Raimi is going to do. And it's like there are multiple shots where I'm like, this feels like Evil Dead all over again. And I love Evil Dead. That's like my favorite horror franchise. So there's a lot of directorial choices that I really enjoyed in this film. It's just like a lot of that character, a lot of the amounts of characters in this movie, and how it kind of just like the movie just kind of jumps all over the place at times. And not in a good way, because, you know, this is supposed to be the multiverse of madness, but the multiverse ain't really that mad. In fact, we only really go to like three different universes. We don't hop around like I thought we were going to, except for like one scene, and even then it goes like a flash, so if you blink you'll miss it. So it's like, you know, when people are like Everything Everywhere All at Once is the better multiverse movie, they're not lying, because that one actually is, if anything, that one feels like its subtitle should have been The Multiverse of Madness. Because it, like, watching that movie, I just watched it last night with a friend, and that movie, like, she was just sitting there, she's like, I believe the quote she said was, just when I think I've understood what's happening, something else happens and I don't understand. And it's like, that's how the Multiverse of Madness should have felt, but it doesn't, because I think they tried too hard to kind of play it safe.
Well, Marvel also simplifies the multiverse quite a bit.
Well, because in the
But-
comics it's simplified.
Yeah.
Like in the comic, because, you know, it's like the multiverse in the comics isn't, you know, multiverse theory is the idea that, like, you know, every decision you make leads to, like, can spawn another universe and create, you know, this multiversal map of your life, essentially. versus
So like multiple universes.
yeah, versus like in comics, the multiverse exists, but it's more like an idea of like it's less about the person and more about in this universe it's still the 1920s, in this universe we're made of paint now. Like that's how the comic books have done it, in both Marvel and DC.
That would
And
have been
so
more fun.
it's a lot more structured, mostly because so they don't get lost in themselves, which also it's an excuse for them to do other things, like because like for example Marvel has had multiple imprints of like story. Like for example they had the Marvel Noir line for a while where they were telling superhero stories, but in like if they took place in the 1930s, so they had Spider-Man Noir, Luke Cage Noir, X-Men Noir, like that sort of thing. And then later when they wanted to tie those characters in to the main universe, they'd be like, oh well that's just another universe in the multiverse where things are, you know, still in the 1930s. And it's like, okay, I guess like that's I guess that makes sense. Same thing with Marvel 1602, where everything takes place during 1602. Same thing with, you know, the anime, like manga verse that Marvel's done. Like they've done a lot of imprints, DC too. And that's so I expected that more structured multiverse, but I was hoping that maybe they were going to surprise me because it's the movies. They can do stuff the comic books can't do. So I don't know.
But then we also have, would it be because we have the multiverse, we also have the metaverse. The metaverse is like the what?
I thought are you talking about the Facebook right now?
No.
or Meta rather.
No. Because there is the metaverse. What is the metaverse that I'm referring to?
Because the metaverse is more like a virtual reality space where you suddenly become. And the metaverse is basically knowing your existence is not your own. It was used basically in virtual reality or games or computers becoming aware of, like, you know, like games becoming aware of themselves, realizing they have no control over their fate, that they're really being ruled by somebody else. It's like a very meta standpoint. It's self-awareness basically.
Mm-hmm.
A metaverse is like if the whole universe became self-aware. Right. Way I see everything going, it's not going to happen. Multiverse is most likely going to happen before the metaverse happens.
Yeah. With all of this virtual currency and Facebook,
crypto,
right? But
and not the super dog.
There's the version of the multiverse. We have the version of the multiverse in like Spider-Man, No Way Home.
Well, it's the same multiverse. So Spider-Man No Way Home is the same as like this movie and in Loki, where like when they say the multiverse, it all applies.
Right. But it's different in the way that it's
presented
because you have these characters that were part of, you know, different movies for a different studio, essentially. And their versions of the same character, and it's kind of meta in that way, where it's like the audience, this was a different character, but they're coming together in the same universe.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely because I mean, and that's what I mean by like the movies can do things that the comic books can't. Well, kind of, because technically there was a comic for the Spider-Verse. It was like the first, I mean, they had played with multiverse before, but Spider-Verse was the one where it was like, we've made Spider-Man in like a lot of comic books. So what would happen if all of them came together? And so they did an event called Spider-Verse, where it was all the Spider-Man from not just comics, but pop culture, like 1960s cartoon Spider-Man, he's in there. Spider-Man from the Japanese live action show that had like a, you know, Megazord, basically, he's in there. He's referenced in the comic book. Technically, movie Spider-Man are supposed to be there, but they're like in the background. Video game Spider-Man, he's in there. Like they've done like, so the comics have played around with that idea of like pop culture, other versions of their characters. are in the comic books. One of my favorite moments is there's a Gwenpool comic book where Gwenpool is a character who's supposed to be from our universe who gets transported into the comics and becomes a comic book character. And she meets Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange is like, I can take you back to your universe and stuff. And so they look in on like our world, and he's looking at a movie theater, and Doctor Strange had just came out, and he's like, oh, Benedict Cumberbatch, huh? I can see that. I can see that. It's a very meta joke, but it's very
that's
funny.
meta.
And so it's like I expected the movies at some point to play around with it. They do it in this movie. I'll get I'll say the spoilers later, but they do it in this movie. They get a little meta in a couple different ways.
Well, they also do it in, and Alex, I think you watched it because I saw it on your Instagram story, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, where they feature Ugly Sonic.
I have never laughed harder at a movie, although I was also a little stoned. But when they brought out Ugly Sonic and Dale was just like staring dead at his teeth, it was just like the best thing ever. And I love that they acknowledged that one of the chipmunks had a special surgery to change him from cartoon to CGI.
Yeah, see, they say that in the trailer, and I was like, that's a neat idea.
I like that they like acknowledge his like, and then Chip was still like a cartoon, and they had my favorite scene from that thing was E.T. versus Batman. It was a movie he watched in the movie, and it was just great.
Interesting.
Which is on which I post on the Instagram. It's just like great.
I've been meaning to watch it. I haven't seen it yet, but I love that Double Toasted when they reviewed it. They were like, "This is what Space Jam: New Legacy wishes they could have been."
Honestly, if you have a choice between Doctor Strange and the madness, the multiverse madness or whatever, Doctor Strange too, or Chip and Dale, choose Chip and Dale. That is pretty much my whole feel of this movie.
Would you call that a multiverse movie?
A little bit because
like
it's different.
All of that takes place. All of it's supposed to take place in the same universe because it's all entertainment. Kind of like Roger Rabbit,
but it's different. It's kind of like
Roger
different
Rabbit is
studios too. It's different universes because it's the human universe mixing with the cartoon universe again.
I thought it's that they just exist in that universe, like cartoon characters just walk among us, and they've been in movies.
They do and they don't. They're kind of like the human actors, but it's also a mix. It's a cross between multiverses if you think about it, because it's the same with like Roger Rabbit and what's that other one with Brad Pitt?
Oh, Cool World.
Cool World.
Yeah, but those ones. Cool World is a cross of multiverses. That is true. Roger Rabbit, it's that cartoons just walk among us. Like there are people, and then there are toons. They just exist. Some people are born toons. Some people are born humans.
Anyway, let's get to the spoiler part.
But we're going to spoilers. Yes. So if you haven't seen Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, fair warning, we're gonna spoil the movie. I'm gonna say this again.
Time to go.
If you haven't seen, not you, Jonathan. You're stuck here. But
You're
the rest of you, if you haven't seen Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, we are going to spoil the movie. So I won't see no comments of, man, they spoiled my favorite that part of the movie. I was excited. Shut up. We're telling you for the third time. We're going to spoil this movie. No, Jonathan, I have to say that because literally, like, we're getting to the point with the Marvel movies, especially where just saying, hey, just so y'all know, Doctor Strange is in the movie. You don't spoil the whole movie. It's like, his name's in the title. Like, what is wrong with you?
And you clicked on a review. That's why you don't click on reviews before you watch the movie if you care about that kind of stuff.
That's true too. Knock it off.
You made the decision.
This was your choice and your fault.
We could, in the first 5 seconds of the review, we could have said, well, Doctor Strange is dead now. What we gonna do? So that would have been your fault if you didn't care about spoilers. Okay.
He's got a point. You guys got a point.
Before we
go into that, there is a thing on TikTok, and I wanted to bring that up real quick, where they say if the multiverse is real, they hope there's a reality where blah blah blah. If the multiverse is real, although I do believe it's real, is there a certain multiverse you wish exists?
Not really. I mean, maybe one where I could like just chat with myself, like if I had like the things I like.
Oh, back to the Adam Project.
Well, more just like, yeah, if like my plan for my life had worked out, like my vision for my life, where it's like, yeah, at 30 years old, I have a fully fledging career and amazing wife and kids. I'm just like, I would love to peer into that universe and be like, how is it? And I feel like our consensus would be virtually the same. He'd just be like, it's a living.
What about you, Jonathan?
I'd like to peek into the universes where I'm the most successful and the universe where I'm the least successful.
You want to see
kind of along the lines of Jerome. Yeah, maybe, who knows?
But like you have to
maybe
choose
I
like
take some lessons
one multiverse. Like you have to choose one multiverse. Like you hope this multiverse definitely exists. It's just where you're just the most successful.
You know what though?
A multiverse. I shouldn't roll my eyes.
Also, it's like you're saying multiverse. Do you mean another universe? Because looking into a multiverse means you're looking into multiple different universes. So do you mean like one's other universe?
Yeah, if the multiverse exists, what is there a universe out there that you wish exists?
Got you.
A universe with no hunger and world peace.
No hunger.
I meant for you personally, but way to be like a martyr. Okay.
I mean that universe, people don't have stomachs. They sustain themselves because they're plant people. So all they need is the sun. So there is no hunger.
Did you know Elon Musk could have saved world hunger instead of buying Twitter with the money that he used to buy Twitter?
You guys make things fun. Going into spoilers.
Yeah, let's talk about America Chavez for a second, because because I am gonna be honest, I am legitimately surprised she's in this movie. Not because her powers don't refer to the universe, but because she is so new. That character has only been around for I think like the past 5 years. So I remember seeing her in the trailers and seeing the star on her back, and I was like, "Is that America Chavez? She's like brand new. Why is she here?" That being said, people are bullying this kid on the internet. I don't, and it's not even like she did that bad of a job. I think she did a great job playing the character. It's just again, there's so many characters in this movie. She doesn't get like as much time as most, and she's a kid. This is like one of her first major roles. So it's like,
yeah, she's only 16.
Yeah, I think she does a fine job. But her story though is interesting to me, and I only bring it up because I was watching another review and they mentioned the fact that America, which it's true in the comics, America is an LGBT character, and it's a big part of her identity in the comics. In this, they kind of reduce it down a lot to where she has a pride pin on her jacket, and also she has two moms.
Talk about okay.
So
what are people expecting? They're trying to run and stop the destruction of universes.
Let
her go to a bar and like pick somebody up or something.
That was my thing. There in this review, he's like, "I'm tired of like LGBT characters not getting a thing." I'm like, I understand how you feel, but this was not the movie to do that. They had more pressing issues. Like they weren't. What do you expect? You wanted her to like hook up with a girl on her way to solve the multiverse problem? Like there was no time for that. The movie's already long enough as is. We do not need to add a subplot where America gets to hook up with a girl real quick. We already saw her two moms. And she does. That
being said, Disney in particular is notorious for having that same thing with their LGBT
first character.
I would have an issue with
storyline. It's just like subtle.
I would have an issue with it if they did what every Disney movie does, where it's like that character has a quiet moment with the main character, and they're like, "What's wrong?" It's like, well, it's like hard being different for like who you love. You know what I mean? And then like that's the only reference you get to them being gay. There wasn't even that scene because they're like, her being gay doesn't change the fact that she's a hero. We do not have time to dive into it. And it's like, I don't know. On one hand, it's like it would have been nice if they had more time to discuss it. At the same time, though, like I don't know. It's the debate of like, is it better to point it out every time you have an LGBT character to make it a thing, or just to treat them like, hey, they're just a person? Like, because that's how they treat her in this movie. Is like, she's just a
better
person.
that way, because it's like in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Captain Holt, the main captain, was a gay man. He talked about his husband. That was it. He had a pride flag on his thing. He did what people who are queer tend to just do. I have a little flag near me with my flag. And like, I mention it once in a while because people will talk to me about something. I'll be like, not really, because I'll mention that I'm, asexual, and I'm like, yeah, and that's it. I don't date. One of the reasons it's too hard to like navigate that, especially in today's world. So I'm just like, I don't date, mainly because of this reason. And that's it. Never once do I come out and have like full on like purple, white, and gray clothing. I'm wearing gray. That's not a good example. But like all the time. I'm not presenting my queerness everywhere. I make sure people know I'm queer because I don't want to be mistaken for a straight. No offense, guys. Just ill. I love you guys. But that's the whole thing. It's not something that needs to be brought up. Like, the pin is fine, and it's mostly tends to be, honestly, white queers that tend to have this problem a lot of time. They're like, oh, there needs to be. I'm like, no, it doesn't. It's the same way with when there is a Black or Latin character or Asian. It doesn't need to be on the forefront. You don't need to bring up the
tell
Latin.
you how Black they are.
They don't need to do like, they don't need to bring up how Black they are. They don't need to bring up how she didn't bring. Nobody's upset that she didn't bring up her Latin, that she's a Latin character. She was brown. We figured she's something.
Well, because I feel like Marvel's getting better with that. Because, for example, did either you watch Eternals?
No, but I want
to. Brian Tyree Henry in that movie is gay. And it's treated with respect. Like, you get to meet his husband, you get to meet his son. It's not treated weird. It's not treated as awkward or other. It's just a normal relationship. You see him kiss his husband goodbye when they go off to go fight the main bad guy. Like, it's treated with respect and dignity, but they had time to do that. The movie is about relationships versus this movie is not about that.
They run a lot in this movie.
Yeah, they're running a lot. Focus on it because they didn't have the time.
It wasn't important to the storyline. If it's not important, it's when it's forced and shoved in there, then you're like, did it need to be like this? Honestly, did you need to like present it this way? Who are you presenting it for? It's those people that are complaining. Right. No, like, honestly, the little pride flag is just fine for me. And it's the same way I look at racial characters. When they have a Latin character, they go like too far with the Latin character. I'm like, do you think that's how we all act? Do you think like this is the best way to represent us? And it's just like bringing up that she's Latin every 10 minutes. The only time I ever mentioned that I'm Latin or Mexican is honestly when one of our white friends say something and I'm like, no, I didn't have that experience, the same thing. And they're like, why not? Like, because I'm Mexican. Mexicans usually don't have that experience that you may have had. And that's it. That's when I bring up my Mexican. That's when I bring up my Latin. It's in the discussion where I'm showing the difference of how I grew up, or like how my culture is different from, their culture. It's as simple as that. And I think it's weird that people focus. Well,
not everybody, not really. But there is like a small.
I think it's weird that it was a focus on, but I'm not surprised. And I felt like a lot of when I went on TikTok, there are a lot of things I feel like people weirdly focused on for this movie. Like, of course, Wanda. Yeah. Wanda went crazy.
So we got to talk about Wanda, right? So.
But is anybody surprised she went cray-cray?
My thing is that I will agree that it feels weird that, because when we did our WandaVision review, we discussed about how we felt WandaVision didn't go far enough, like or at least I did. I'm not gonna put words in your mouth, Alex.
I don't remember what I said.
But when I watched WandaVision, I felt like they didn't go far enough to make her like a full-fledged villain. This movie, out the gate, at the start of the film, she is like full villain. Like, she's ready to kill people, and they try to excuse it by. Well, I'm just saying, like, when Doctor Strange meets her in that forest, and then he's like, she was gearing up, it's like a dead forest basically, and she's gone full Scarlet Witch mode. I was like, they're like, yeah, the Darkhold has corrupted her. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, when did that happen? It feels like we jumped way over a few steps to get here. But I dig it. I'm down with it, whatever. But it gets to the point where I like Wanda as a villain, but the thing that makes Wanda as a villain in the comics makes sense is that you see the progression to get there. Here, it just jumps from WandaVision to be almost like they're like, oh, right, she has to be a villain. We made her too sympathetic at the end of WandaVision. Screw it. She's just going to start killing people
honestly,
now.
People were really sympathetic during this movie, too. I saw like only pro Wanda stuff. They were like, they understand why she's murdering in multiverses. She's murdering people. They're like, her rampage is kind of justified. I have a quick question because you're the comic book nerd here, Jerome. Mm-hmm. Her children were she made them, right? Poof, the children. Mm-hmm. So poof. Why poof? I'm assuming that's how. I mean, that's true.
It basically is how it happened. Like it literally was just like poof, they're here now.
That's how. After learning so much, after my sister was looking for a surrogate, a sperm donor, I learned far too much about pregnancy, and that's how now I like to imagine all babies are birthed just poof. Like, yeah, I just can't think about that stuff anymore.
Is it because you like Fairly Odd Parents so much?
Both. Poof. I don't want to think about labor, and I do like Fairly Odd Parents. What were you gonna say?
Baby poof.
I was just gonna say, I think maybe the reason why people are so with Wanda on Wanda's side is because they had to spend 8 hours with her watching WandaVision. I mean, not had to, but it was an enjoyable.
They wanted her to have her happy.
Well, also, the whole she has a sympathetic story because she wants to be a mom. Like, you know, that's understandable to a degree, especially if you've been watching all the movies. Like Wanda's had nothing but loss in her life, so you can understand her wanting to grasp onto motherhood like for dear life.
No, I still think it's insane.
That's the madness part.
So my question is, kids come in poof, and then they're gone again. Mm-hmm. Can't she just make new children?
A lot of people ask that question.
No. But she's like going through all these.
It's a legit question.
Yeah, that's and they aren't even technically her children. So it's not like she like poofed them to another universe to protect them. Those aren't even her kids in general. So she was trying to kidnap children because they seem similar to her children when she could just poof more.
Well, they are her kids in another universe, but a lot of people brought that up. They're like, you're trying to amass power to go to another universe to get your kids. Why can't you just that was my thing about WandaVision. When she closes the hex, I was like, and she's all sad. I'm like, can't you just, okay, you're in an abandoned area right now. Why don't you just reopen it in like a small area and have your kids back? There's no reason you can't. The only reason the hex was a problem in WandaVision is because you kidnapped a whole town of people along with you. That was the issue. The issue wasn't making your own little corner of the universe where you can hang out with your kids and dead husband. That is fine.
She going after the husband. I mean, he going after the husband now.
Which that was another thing too. A lot of people brought up of like, where's Vision? I guess you don't care about Vision anymore.
I thought Vision was dead.
No, White Vision. Remember at the end of WandaVision, White Vision is out there somewhere. But they don't bring him up like at all. In fact, a lot of characters don't come up in this. Where's Falcon to maybe talk Wanda down? Don't see him. I know Steve's dead, but she knows Falcon. Where's Captain America now? Okay. Where's he at?
He's too busy.
He doesn't feel the need. You know what I mean? There's so many characters they could have like brought in to help.
Well, no, they had to introduce everybody else. But no, that's what I was just thinking the entire time I'm watching this. I'm like, those aren't technically. I get that they're her children in another universe, but then those aren't the kids you made then. So you're not even going after the children. You don't even want the children you made. You want somebody else's children.
That's the thing about her motivation in this. It starts pretty strong with like a decent idea because it's like maybe the madness of the Darkhold has made her not like has thrown her judgment askew and she's not really like thinking straight. But once you start, like, even the characters in this movie start pulling on that thread. Wong asks her, he's like, okay, but like, what, or either Wong or Doctor Strange, they're like, okay, Wanda, yeah, sure. If you get this girl and then have the power to jump into the multiverse, that's cool and all. But what happens to their actual mother? You're just gonna kill her? Like, and she doesn't give an answer because she would not have an answer for that.
Yeah.
And the writers don't have an answer for that because that's a legitimately good question
Well, I think
to
she was
ask.
planning just to kill the.
Yeah.
Well, from what it seemed like when they did fight. I just was wondering about that. And I like saw a lot of like social media where people were like really in support. They're like, oh, you don't understand what you would do for your children and how far you would go and blah, blah, blah. And like, I understand that the perception of the mother is completely different. But at the same time, like you're just destroying universe after universe to take somebody else's children away. This is what it's coming down to. You're trying to steal another Wanda's child. So you're trying to put the same heartache you had into somebody else. That's not cool.
It's
It's
like
a cycle
that.
of abuse.
It's like that kind of dilemma, or I feel like I've heard this situation before in movies or TV or whatever, where it's like if you cloned somebody or if you cloned a pet, would you still have that same attachment to it or them as you would to the original person or pet or being or whatever? And it sounds like that's a similar kind of thing.
Kind of, because like people had asked me if I was ever willing to clone Snowbell. And I was like, no, because she's a one of a kind cat. I'm like, I definitely wouldn't want to clone because you just know it's not them.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think because like people have told me, oh, you'll know it's like because I've had this argument because I've told people I don't want kids. And they're like, oh, it's different when it's your own. I'm like, no, I understand that sentiment because when Chris was going through a hard time, I took care of her a lot. And with Snowball, I took care of her a lot. I would do that again for them in a heartbeat. I was frustrated, angry, but like I'd do it again for them in a heartbeat because they're Christian's my flesh and blood. But I would not do that for anybody else. So I get that sentiment of like, it's yours, but they're technically not hers. What she's doing.
I mean, yeah, but that's like, she doesn't care about that technicality. She's just like, I mean, more or less they're mine.
Right. So she's just destroying universe to still, it's like somebody else's,
well, it's not that she wants to destroy the universe. She just wants to replace at least one Wanda and have her kids.
Is it more that she's just trying to find the life where she can be that person instead? I don't think it's so much about the children because she could have literally poofed a new pair. I think she wants to integrate into
that's the plot hole they missed is that because it's like Wanda's whole thing is like, I want to be able to jump through the multiverse so I can be with my children. But it's like, but Wanda, you made them before, just make them again in this universe. You don't need to kidnap this child.
Sorry, I forgot I put water in here. I thought this was my soda thing, but there's water in here and that's why I made a face.
So it's like they kind of missed that. But I also see what you like. I agree with you because I am a fan of the way they've done Wanda in the movies, but I'm not on that same hype train with Wanda where it's like, oh, poor Wanda. I'm like, Wanda, this narrative of Wanda's a good person at heart doesn't really fly for me because I'm just like, she's always made bad decisions and villainous ones at that. It just so happens that she's always with other people who guide her to make the right decision in the end. Because it's like she joined Hydra without question to kill Tony, who's like a hero. And it's like, on one hand, I've heard the argument. It's like, well, I mean, Stark she thinks Stark blew up her family. So he's trying to get revenge. I'm like, okay, but then what after that? Like after Tony, like, let's say she succeeds. Tony dies. She kills the Avengers. What then? What, the Hydra just gonna let them leave? She's gonna just stop being with Hydra? That doesn't it doesn't fly. Secondly, when she like went off with Steve during the Civil War thing, it's like she only did it because she just didn't want to be trapped in her room, despite the fact that she is a dangerous person. And this movie proves that, how dangerous Wanda can be if she's like unleashed with no rules, regulations. Then WandaVision, where she purposefully or accidentally, but then after she figured it out, still kept up a hex that enslaved a whole town of people. She's always made bad decisions. She's always virtually been the bad guy. It just so happens that you feel for her because you understand why she makes these decisions. That just makes her a complex villain, but not a good person in my mind.
I think they just use the low-hanging fruit of, oh, it's kids. like, because like I can even fall for that. I don't like children, but I get it.
That being said, though, she was cool in this movie, though. I loved her. I like how they use her powers in this film. It's very horror-esque, but even some of the magic stuff, like when she's in the mirror dimension and she like turns the mirror into liquid so she can like grab sorcerers through the mirrors and kill them.
Have
Or
you
when
guys
she
ever
like
been in like one of those fun houses where it's all mirrors?
Mm-hmm.
not like all mirrors, but I've definitely been in a few fun houses where they have like all the hall of silly mirrors.
I hate it. At Navy Pier in Chicago, they like it's this like place. I don't even know where at Navy Pier. It's on the pier. You go in, they have just like these different rooms. One is like it's a straight platform, but the room is spinning around you. So you feel like you're spinning.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, and then it leads to like this hall of mirrors, and then it leads to like this room with all the smoke. I love it. It is super outdated, and I don't think it's entirely safe, honestly, anymore. Because the amount of times like people slam into those like mirrors,
I
I feel like,
bet.
but like it's still a fun thing, and that's what that movie kind of reminded me of. Everybody's always swirling.
Yeah, it was
Doing
her
the-
powers were cool, especially once we get to the Illuminati scene where she like kills the Illuminati. That was really cool. I really dug like I love seeing Wanda in full power though. I will give you that. Like if nothing else this movie gives you get to see Wanda like full power, which even in the comics is really cool when she's like bending reality and is just this unstoppable monster. And I thought she were, especially the way Raimi directs the movie. I think it works with her having her as that movie monster in that like tunnel scene where she's chasing them with the limp and stuff. I was like, this is cool. I dig it.
Yeah, see
So
that
it seems.
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say it seems like the plot may have had some left to be desired, but it sounds like the visuals were cool.
The visuals were cool. The CGI they used, the way they used it. There's a really cool scene. One of my favorite scenes, I think it's at the beginning where Doctor Strange actually is at a party, and people are actually calling him like the new Tony Stark in this movie because he's at like
Which
a
I
cocktail
don't
party.
get because I mean I guess Benedict Cumberbatch is like probably the biggest name now.
It's more that Doctor Strange, they need like a party guy. He jumps off the balcony, which is done so well, and he changes into his costume. And if you see at
The cloak.
like when he's having the drink, he has a red handkerchief right here, and it's just a cloak and hiding. And then he rips apart a bus, and it's really cool because it looks like a bunch of like little shards.
It's a
And then the people
buzzsaw
are-
and he shreds it in half and it looks dope.
Yeah, it's actually really good. So like the graphics and like all that stuff is so well done. The CGI is well used. Nothing looked weird, and if it did, it still fit with the narrative. So like that's the only real plus I can see about this movie. I didn't really enjoy it. I thought when Doctor Strange was having like the fight with his dark variant, they played like classical music.
I
for
like the
showdown.
music fight.
I didn't
though.
like it.
I like that a lot because I like because it just looks cool, but also B because I love how it. I was like, I'm watching a movie right now because like, but in a good way because it's like
Bless you.
it integrated like the actual bless you. You integrated the score of the music within the fight, like so every piece of the movie fit together. The CG, the acting, the score, the coloring, like everything tied together in that one scene in a way that's like really cool. And when you're dealing with a character like Doctor Strange where anything's possible because he's magic, why not? We can do anything. Why not make the score like the magic we're using in a fight? I like that idea.
Because I found it kind of boring.
I
I want a more intense sound when you're fighting. Go ahead.
From what I've read, the little pieces that I've read, it says that the pacing received some criticism. We haven't necessarily gone into that, but can you see that the movie is how long? Like 2.5 hours?
2.5 hours, yeah.
And that's definitely, you could either have a movie run smoothly and quick pace, and it seems like 2.5 hours is no time at all. But also in that amount of time, it could drag as
I
well.
will say I do appreciate there's not a lot of slow motion running in this film. So that's one good thing about it. When they ran, they ran.
In
Yeah,
regular motion.
I will say the for me the pacing kind of ran long once they, because like I said, they don't really multiverse hop around. They go to like three. The three meaning like including our dimension. So it's like our universe. Then they go to what I'm just gonna call the Illuminati verse, which Alex, I'm gonna ask you because I like you don't read as much comic books as I do. Were you confused when the Illuminati showed up?
I felt the fact that they used the word Illuminati was ridiculous.
Yeah,
I was just like, of course it's called the Illuminati. I was disappointed when Beyonce wasn't there.
The Illuminati is it's an annoying concept. It's in the comic books. It's supposed to be all of the characters that are the heads of their respective positions in the Marvel universe come together to make decisions that are supposed to be for the greater good of the Marvel universe behind the scenes. So like Iron Man represents for like heroes in general, more or less. Mr. Fantastic represents the science community. Professor X represents the mutants. Black Bolt represents the Inhumans. Like it's kind of that type of one-to-one type thing. But the fun of the Illuminati in the comics is that it's a room filled with nothing but ego. Like they think they have things under control and they don't. But that's the point. Here,
I ain't gonna say nothing about the Illuminati because I don't want them coming after me.
The thing about the Illuminati in this is that it feels like it's just there for the sake of having cameos. They're like, hey, you want Peggy Carter to be Captain America? She's in the movie now as the Illuminati.
Yeah, I saw that.
Not a single soul was asking for Peggy Carter.
No, you didn't watch What If, in which that's the first time that character showed up, and now she's become like a fan favorite. Everybody loves Peggy Carter as Captain Carter.
Not on the social media I am.
Nobody likes her. Like, you want Maria Rambeau as Captain Marvel? Here she is, as Captain Marvel. You want John Krasinski as that's what I mean by it got really meta, because a lot of people, like for the longest time, have been pitching if Marvel was to do a Fantastic Four movie, they want John Krasinski and Emily Blunt to play Mr. Fantastic. And
is it just because they're married?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's, I mean, granted, they are good actors, but it's based solely on the fact that, hey, they were in that movie A Quiet Place together and they were really good and they're married in real life, so they should play this married couple in a movie, in another movie that I want to see. And it's like, okay, but I mean, there's a lot of other actors.
Like a Fantastic Four movie, another one, just a bad idea.
Well, very much so. Yeah, right. So I think they need to like wait. They need to wait. Maybe like 5 or something. 5 years.
Wait, it's been, the last one came out in like 2008. It's been a long time.
No, the last one was like 2014, 2015. The one
even still, that's still plenty of time. It's been like a lot of years.
Is it though, with the amount of like material they have? Like, is it though?
Because it still has a bad rep to its name at this point. So I think they need to wait a few years, which it seems like they are, because it doesn't seem like any Fantastic Four movies are coming out anytime soon. So they need to wait until the
you're talking about the most recent Fantastic Four. I forgot there was a third one. I'm gonna be honest.
Yes.
Which was a completely
that movie erased from my memory
in 2015.
They need to
the
wait
next one
until
isn't going to come out until like another 2 years from now anyway. Like they're not, the people were just pitching John Krasinski because him and Emily Blunt are married and she's blonde. So, you know, they totally fit the characters, but that movie isn't coming out till I think like 2025. They're like,
exactly. So it's following our timeline
anytime soon.
So it's following our timeline, and that way, you know, that baggage that the last one came with will have died down a little bit, so that way they can, you know, revamp.
Well, see, Jonathan, what you're not thinking about is that, you know, when it comes to the Marvel fans, they don't care. It's, well, yeah, that movie was bad, but that's because Marvel didn't do it. And when Marvel does it, it's gonna be perfect, and there's gonna be no mistakes, and it's gonna be excellent. Like is the thought, because it's the same thing with the X-Men. It's like, how many years out are we from Dark Phoenix, and already everybody has like pitches on how they're gonna throw the X-Men into the MCU, because when Marvel does it, it'll be perfect.
I think the comic book era needs to start dying off, because nobody is picking. No, like it was great because you didn't see certain characters before. And one of the things with Marvel that they blew up so big was because these characters were not on screen before. They introduced new ones that were like, hey, these are real cool. We haven't seen these in a movie before. Unlike, DC that was just doing Batman and Superman. But now they're just redoing stuff again. And it's the same with the Fantastic Four, where I'm like, who's really asking for this? And why are you asking for this?
Well,
And
I mean,
just like,
they are the first family of Marvel. Like, there's a reason Fantastic Four stays on the shelves in Marvel Comics, because it's just a legacy thing. There are still some hardcore Fantastic Four fans, because they're just like they're the first Marvel team and Marvel book. I think, if I remember my history, that's the first ever Marvel printed comic book was Fantastic Four.
yeah, but you got your movie. Move on. You need to move on.
But it wasn't good though.
Well, you had the Jessica Alba
good.
ones, and Chris Pratt, Chris Evans. Oh my gosh,
there's a lot of Chris's. I feel your pain.
What
Chris Hemsworth's still holding on strong. He ain't never gonna stop being Thor.
That Love and Thunder movie, I'm ready for that.
It looks
what
good.
If Chris Evans reprised his role in the upcoming Fantastic Four?
They can't do that.
Why not?
And they won't.
Why
do
not?
that. Because Marvel is stringent on their rules. It's why directors sometimes leave. It's why they lose cast members and have to recast people, because they are stuck on, when we hire somebody to be a character, damn it, they are that character, period. There is no replacement unless you want to get fired.
Marvel is turning into
there is
DC
no redos.
If they're going to just keep redoing movies again. They're slowly turning into DC. Because there's no real and they brought in all these characters in just like one group. That's another thing with Doctor Strange, this film. They just brought in every character that they could think of. They brought in like Dr. Xavier, and it was just like, what are you doing here, sir? Why are you here?
That's what I mean. It's
and
like,
they tried to
the Illuminati came into this movie, and I was like, this feels too soon. Like,
I think
first of all, most of these characters people don't know most people don't know who Black Bolt is. The people who know Mr. Fantastic, it ain't him. It ain't this version. Like,
give us a twist on the Fantastic Four. Then they're all Asian, or they're all gay.
Why?
Or they're all
because they're boring.
We've seen it before, Jerome. This is why we talk about.
Get it. We get it. The married couple. Oh, the husband works too much. Oh, she needs more affection. Oh, and then you have the slutty brother. And then you have the romantic guy who's turned into stone. We get it. They're but there's a whole movie.
First of all, I will raise you. We haven't seen it done right. Or I will give you the first Fantastic Four movie is actually okay. I'm not as hard on it as most people.
Chris Evans played that slutty brother perfectly.
But I'm like, we haven't seen it done in a way. And also, the thing about the Fantastic Four is like, it will be new, because unlike the Fantastic Four movies, they actually are in the Marvel universe now. And in the comics, the Fantastic Four go on a lot of adventures we have not seen them do before. We have not seen them tangle with the Skrull. We haven't seen them talk to the Kree. We haven't seen them deal with, a lot of galactic threats, deal with the Mole Man, deal with like Annihilus. Like, there's a lot of Fantastic Four stuff they could mine that we've not gotten. But if you've only seen the movies, you wouldn't know about it, because a lot of people don't read Fantastic Four comics as they used to.
But that's the thing with Marvel. They're not going to stick to the comics. So they're not going to stick to the comics.
Yes, they will. They do all the time. That's like their thing. That's what made them popular, is that they stuck so closely to the comics. Because like Iron Man, that movie, that is Iron Man.
Well, like, Iron Man's gone, so they can't really have the Illuminati without Iron Man, right? And hasn't Dr. Xavier Dr. Xavier like died multiple times?
That's
already.
comics. That you just got to let the death thing go right
he
now.
Died in like he died in one of the X-Men movies. I remember.
That's what I'm saying. And then they brought him back in the X-Men movies. Death is not permanent in any comic book universe you will see, screen or otherwise. So you just got to let that go. Death don't exist in comic book world.
Except if you're Iron Man.
I mean, he's
That's
different. They do not want to play Robert.
Permanent.
They do not want to pay Robert Downey Jr. any more money. Okay.
That's fair.
They lost enough.
I just think they introduced all these new characters. They can use one of them. And with the Illuminati, I don't know. The Illuminati sounds ridiculous.
Oh, that's what the name is in the comics. Okay, so they just got to settle for that.
In the comics, it was a bad decision too. That's a
plus
everybody.
Their whole thing is that they're a behind the scenes organization that people don't know exists that is running things. No different than people think the actual Illuminati in real life is the exact same thing. The name fits.
Both Illuminati suck at their job. Then they are terrible.
That's the thing about the comic. You read the comic book and you realize, you guys are not good at this. You're supposed to be helping, but you're not helping at all. You're making things worse.
Just a bunch of people. It's like a book club. They meet up every week where they pretend they have read the book, but really they're just there to gossip and talk about each other's lives.
The biggest, because I know exactly why they did the Illuminati in this movie. I can tell you why. Firstly, it's because they wanted to do the cameos. They wanted to have Patrick Stewart as Professor X because, hey, he's been Professor X in another movie, and it worked out when we did it for Spider-Man. So screw it. We'll do it for this movie too. So you get Patrick Stewart as X-Man. You get the dude from that Terrible Inhuman show as Black Bolt, which I was legitimately surprised. I was like, they brought back Anson Mount? No one watched your show. Why are you here?
Remember when we had that in IMAX and nobody came and watched it?
And the people who did come left shaking their heads
before it was finished. Yeah. It's like, but they got Anson Mount as Black Bolt. They got John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. They got I forget the actress's name, but she's awesome. But Maria Rambeau as Captain Marvel. They got Haley Atwell as Peggy Carter. They got the whole shebang. Even Chiwetel Ejiofor as Mordo is here. Like, they got the whole thing. But the whole point, Lynch.
Except Iron Man.
Thank you. Yeah, they didn't get Iron Man, but that's because they're never going to do Iron Man for a while. They're not going to do Iron Man for a long time. But the reason they were there wasn't just for the cameos. It was to show off how powerful Wanda is, because the Illuminati are also supposed to be like the most powerful people in the Marvel universe. So Wanda eliminates kills them in the most brutal way possible with ease, without issue, which is like, for me as a comic fan, I'm like, that was pretty cool. But then I thought about it from a perspective of someone who does not know who any of these characters are. And you probably don't have that same reference of how powerful they should be because we just met these people 10 minutes ago.
Yes and no, because I'm aware of a good chunk of those. So I'm not aware of some of them, like with the Eternals. I am aware of some of them. And I got the idea when they were like explaining things. But it's also, you're trying to use science against magic. You're trying to like do things with equation. Like, this woman just like created a whole dead forest with the snap of her fingers. And like, what is the scientist guy also going to do? John.
Oh, Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, Mr. Fantastic. Thank you. What is his character going to do? Because he's also just a stretchy guy.
Yeah, he tried to talk her down,
just, like,
and she
stretched
just
him out
shreds,
and like
cheese grates him. He turns into like cheese grater particles, and then his head pops like a balloon.
Yeah, and then like Dr. Xavier, I love Patrick Stewart. I think he's a fantastic actor. He's amazing, but also Dr. Xavier, he like reads minds and has telekinesis, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is he gonna do?
Well, he doesn't have telekinesis. He has telepathic powers. So he can like read minds and
move stuff with his mind.
No, he can like read minds and manipulate people with his mind.
So can she.
Exactly.
So what is he gonna what is the stretchy man and the telepathic man gonna do to stop her? And then
before that, Alex, what is the person whose power is I have a shield going to do? Peggy Carter is just
nothing.
Captain America.
You know what Captain America did? You know what Captain America did? He released her into the wild. Tony Stark was the only one that saw, hey, she's kind of dangerous. Maybe we should keep her on the compound, kind of train her, kind of keep her enclosed until we're ready and sure. No, Captain America's like, no, let her run free. This is all Captain America's fault, honestly, because the man couldn't handle a couple boundaries. Captain America couldn't handle boundaries and then got pissy when somebody tried to murder his best friend because he murdered his parents. Captain America threw a big hissy fit, and that's what happened, and this is why everything's the way it is.
They have Captain Carter in this, where she's like, she's fighting Wanda, and she says the infamous line, "I could do this all day," and I'm like, no, you can't, because Wanda literally just killed your entire team 2 seconds ago. All of them had powers. You don't have powers. What exactly do you expect to do?
She could do that thing that Doctor Strange did to Loki and just have her fall into a portal for eternity, and that's it.
Right, but she made a quicker effort, and she just cut her in half with her own shield. And I'm like, exactly. What do you think was going to happen?
I understand why people are trying to think it's like impressive, but at the same time, when they're all grouped together, still, it's not that impressive. What is the person with the shield, the stretchy guy, and the guy who can read minds going to do?
The only person who had a chance was Black Bolt and Captain Marvel. And even then, Mr. Fantastic, the smartest man in the universe, told Wanda verbally how Black Bolt's powers work. That's something you keep close to the chest, because as soon as he's like, yeah, Black Bolt could say one word and he'll disintegrate your whole body. Don't say that, because then she could just be like, oh, well, I guess I'll just make his mouth disappear. And then what happens? She makes his mouth disappear, and then his voice explodes his own head and kills him.
You Honestly, guys are describing them like that ragtag team of people in Deadpool.
They basically do get X'd off like the X-Force.
They are kind of like that, where it's like they all had their individual powers. Together, they make a great team. But really, they all die within seconds of like trying to execute the plan.
And their whole thing, well, the real danger to the multiverse is Doctor Strange. Okay, and Doctor Strange is telling you he's scared of this person. So maybe you should take it seriously and help him. No, we ain't gonna do that. And I'm like, the Illuminati, everybody.
If they're scared of Doctor Strange, why don't they just stop him before he became what he became?
No, they did. They killed their Doctor Strange, and our Doctor Strange, who's now visiting in this universe, they put him in handcuffs. So they've got him locked down, but it's like, okay, but he's telling you Wanda's a threat. If he feels like Wanda's a threat and he's supposedly the most dangerous person in the multiverse, then dang it, get your stuff together and go and team up with this man and help fight it. Don't just sit there.
Also,
Charles excluded because he don't have a choice. He's paraplegic. He can't get up. So
Jonathan.
Shout out to Ross Marquand, who voices the Ultron drones that appear on Earth 838.
That's what it was. Earth 838. Yeah. If you need a voice actor to real quick fill in, get Ross Marquand. He's good. He did Red Skull's voice for Infinity War and Endgame because they couldn't get Hugo Weaving.
He was also in Invincible as well, and I know he's a voice actor. So me and Alex met him years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We did.
He's great.
Do you remember this, Alex?
No, I met another one
at the Walker Soccer Con.
Oh.
From The Walking Dead.
Oh yeah, no. I remember now. I was like, wait, did I meet another celebrity and not know it? No, I remember now. Very, very nice man. He was very, very sweet. That's right. I remember now. I got it. I got the memo.
Moving on a little bit. I will say also another favorite moment though from this movie, and I know it's a visual thing, but also I just love the idea. Undead Doctor Strange. That shit was cool.
They had a zombie Doctor Strange.
When he's like a zombie Doctor Strange, and then he has a corpse cape of made up of spirits from hell, basically, and that becomes his cloak of levitation. I was like, that is awesome. That's Doctor Strange. That's awesome Doctor Strange level magic that I wanted to see in the first movie. But I get it. First movie was introducing magic, so it's but now we can finally do it. That was really cool. And I love that it was filmed exactly like Evil Dead when the Deadites rise up and stuff.
I think this movie would have been better if it focused on the power Doctor Strange had developed. because yes, he's like one of the most powerful, and we got to see it in like the different in the Avengers movies, and we got to see it a little bit in Spider-Man No Way Home. So we got to see it, but we don't know the extent of Doctor Strange's powers and why the other universes are scared of him. Why he's the biggest threat.
Yeah, they try to explain it that basically Doctor Strange is unpredictable. Like he will do things. He'll push things to the limits to accomplish his goals. But I'm like, we've only ever seen that one time, and that's in this movie.
Why is that surprising? Literally every superhero does that. They literally all do that.
Yeah, and it's like it's weird. That's what I mean by
isn't that how
Doctor
Magneto
Strange
became? So Dr. Xavier should have known that's what happens to everybody. Magneto did it.
Not really. Magneto's just born a mutant.
No, he was a good guy, and then he slowly became the bad guy because he's pushing limits and lit.
X-Men First Class.
Sure.
Kind of. I mean, in the comics, it's just Magneto's just evil from the start, or not evil, but he's already an extremist by that point. By the time he even meets Charles, he's already an extremist.
Point is, they all know superheroes tend to go off the rockers because no superhero is mentally stable. Not a single superhero that I've ever seen.
I would argue She-Hulk is stable.
They did her dirty in the new Disney Plus.
It looks good. It looks really good.
They just made her taller. They kept her form.
That's what She-Hulk looks like. Have you seen She-Hulk?
I've seen She-Hulk. She does not look like what she looks like in the comics.
Yes, she does.
She is barely taller than half the people in that. She looks like an average woman next to Hulk.
Well, actually, that's because the CG. Well, next to Hulk, yeah, because she's supposed to. Hulk and her are the same height.
No, she looks small next to Hulk.
No, they're the same height.
They're barely the same height, man.
Also, you can barely tell her height because she's only in a few trailer shots standing next to people.
Yeah, and she just barely has any muscle on her. They could have made her bulky. I feel like they did her dirty.
That's true. They could have put more muscle on her, but I think they wanted to make her muscle tone match the actress. Because I think even if that actress bulked up, she wouldn't look like bodybuilder.
You're talking about Natalie Portman?
No.
She's Thor.
No, that's Thor.
Oh, that's right.
But she looks great. She's
right, but there's a difference between. They didn't have Mark Ruffalo bulk up. That man still had a dad bod.
Hulk is supposed to be like a body, complete body change compared to Bruce Banner. She-Hulk's thing is that she virtually looks the same. She just is like a little bit more muscle and green.
And they didn't give her any more muscle. They could have bulked her up.
I'm saying, you seen her calf muscles in the trailer? Her calves don't look like that in real life. Tatiana Maslany, her calves ain't that defined. All right, you're not gonna give that to her. You're not gonna give that to her.
Marvel puts money into like getting them personal trainers. So somebody just worked out.
I don't care about her bulking up as much as I more care that she is She-Hulk, like the character, that her personality is the same, that the story is going to feel like She-Hulk. That's more important to me because I learned my lesson already. All right. We got a Moon Knight show with 15 minutes of Moon Knight out of 6 hours worth of TV. So the costume sure does look like Moon Knight. He looks like Moon Knight, but the character's not Moon Knight. So I would rather take She-Hulk being the character as opposed to, well, she don't have enough muscle. Is she green, tall, and can use super strength? That's all I need. I don't need her to look like a bodybuilder.
They should have. I will say really quick with Moon Knight, I want to give a fair warning to certain people. Y'all got to be careful wearing Moon Knight's costume or doing your own homemade because it is a white hood. All right.
Okay. No. And it's not a KKK hood. It's a completely different costume.
That's what I'm trying to say.
But it can go.
It can go. And I've seen quite a few TikToks and Instagram posts where people do not think about looking possibly at a reference photo of Moon Knight and how the hood and mask and his costume is. So
it's like those videos that you see of newscasters when they're trying to circle the thunderstorm, but they end up drawing something else.
Mm-hmm.
It can end up like that.
If you're gonna cosplay as Moon Knight,
but I see what you mean.
Yeah, if you're gonna cosplay as Moon Knight, or you're just trying to wear a certain part, like the top part, to do TikToks, Instagram videos, whatever, like look at a reference photo and make sure it looks closer to the reference photo than anything else. Because I've seen way too many TikToks like that now, where it's going like, I don't know if y'all are doing this on purpose. I don't know if this is the way for you guys feeling like you can. I don't know. But you all need to just look at an actual reference photo of Moon Knight, because I don't want to see any of that more on my TikTok. Okay. I like the comic book stuff. I like the knock it off though.
Anyway, back to Doctor Strange. Real quick, because we haven't really talked about the man himself. What did you think about Doctor Strange, Alex? Like Benedict Cumberbatch is not so much like, you know, the things he did, but just Benedict Cumberbatch playing this role in this movie. Because he's been a while since he's had his own movie. He's been like a cameo and like, or like
Everything
a supporting
else.
character in a lot of other movies. This is his first official, like technically sequel. What did you think about?
I
Doctor
think he
Strange?
does it really well. I love Benedict Cumberbatch in general, and I think he plays this role so well because he does have the posture for Doctor Strange. He can hold himself up really well, and it never looks tiring. But he also is able to play the character when you can see that he is like not only mentally but physically tired. Like when he wakes up from the nightmares, that like hunch feeling where you want to get smaller after a nightmare to kind of protect yourself. And you can see so much weight on him because he is one of the surviving members. He was basically the one who told Tony Stark that you have to die for us to like win, basically. And you know, with all that, and then him probably knowing on a subconscious level that about Spider-Man, because you know, with the magic of the multiverse, everything is still there with him because he's still connected to those, you know, to the magic that, you know, erased Spider-Man or Peter Parker, really. It's things like that that he does bring into effect, and you can see that kind of character development. I think they did it surprisingly well because before he was Doctor Strange, he was this like party guy. He went to all these events, very smug. When he was Doctor Strange, he was still that like smug guy, but he became more isolated. But now he's back to being like the front man. And I think it was, they didn't have to change too much of his character. They didn't have to make him into something that, like, people are making jokes about him, yeah, being the new Tony Stark and being, you know, basically the new Robert Downey Jr. of Marvel. But Benedict Cumberbatch, he is not that outlandish with his characters. And he is also very different from his character to who Doctor Strange is to the actual actor Benedict Cumberbatch. So you can see that he's able to envelop that character so well, even though it's kind of looks like it's a different personality to him. Benedict
Well, yeah, it's
Cumberbatch
supposed
looks
to
way
be.
more
He's
fun.
playing a character.
Well, Robert Downey Jr. and Tony Stark, they were the same person.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely like Benedict Cumberbatch too as Doctor Strange. I think the more he does the role, and the more I get to see him, or rather, at least the more writers who kind of handle his character, the more I like him as Doctor Strange more and more. I think he definitely captures, because I think that's the thing. That was my major fear when they were doing Doctor Strange. I'm like, it is so easy for Doctor Strange, for a lot of people to be like, oh, he's just Tony Stark with magic, because their personalities are so parallel. Where like, but the difference being that Tony is more narcissistic,
Yeah.
in that like it's about me. Like, I gotta be the one in charge. I gotta be the one whose ideas we're listening to, whatever. Doctor Strange, it's not about being narcissistic. It's hubris is his problem, is that he's like, no, I got this. Even if he definitely does not got this. He's like, no, but I still got this. Like, I got it. But it's like most of Doctor Strange's adventures is him realizing like that, realizing the sacrifices that he needs to make to accomplish the goals and being willing to make those. And I think this movie really plays on that very well. And even though that was the lesson he kind of learned in the first movie, I feel like here it's done in a way that's slightly different, in that Doctor Strange, like in the first movie, he was learning magic and getting used to it. This movie, he's now become Doctor Strange, the superhero. And
I think they did
he's trying
rob
to
him a
figure
little
out,
bit of character development by focusing so much on Wanda.
I think so. I think they rob him character development just focusing on all the characters, America, Wanda. even Christine, to which I was like, why is Christine here?
Yeah, I think they robbed him of his sequel when he could have done more.
Wait, someone, I think it was Jerome. Jerome, you said that Benedict Cumberbatch hasn't really had many leading opportunities since Doctor Strange.
I didn't say that.
Someone did.
I said like Chris Ham. Not you mean on this video? Because I didn't say that on this video.
No, like just moments ago. We need to rewind the tape once we.
No, Benedict Cumberbatch has plenty of leading role parts. I just meant in
the
universe, or rather, I meant in Marvel universe.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Like in the MCU, he hasn't had like a lot of leading roles, like leading stuff in the MCU. Most of the time, he's like a supporting character, which is kind of par for the course because in the Marvel universe proper, Doctor Strange is featured in a lot of stuff, often as a supporting character because he's like the authority on magic. So, like you need a magic thing. They're like the first thing everyone in the MCU says is like, well, we got to go see Doctor Strange. Like that's the first person they go to whenever they have magical problems. So that makes sense.
He doesn't have any friends. They're just like, we'll go see him.
It's why we're not going to stick around. MCU is the same way. It's like anytime they have magical problems, anyone who knows who Doctor Strange is, they're like, might as well go see Doctor Strange. Screw it, let's go.
But what I was going to say was from the things that I have seen, from the clips, from the press, from the appearances that Benedict Cumberbatch has made over American media over the past month or so, I have grown to appreciate and like him more than I did when he first got on the scene and kind of blew up and everybody was talking about him. Yeah. At first I was like, oh, this dude is overhyped. But I've grown to appreciate him as an actor and a personality a little bit more. I liked him on SNL when he hosted.
He was great on SNL when he hosted.
Yeah, he was really good. I've appreciated his interviews and the stuff that the clips that I've seen from the film as well. And Alex and Jerome both know my history with the first Doctor Strange, but I won't go into too much because it's already traumatic enough. But yeah. So I think I'll take a look at the movie when it hits Disney Plus, because right now I don't think I'll pay for it, especially since the movie's been spoiled for me. So I'll take a look at it when.
I think if anything, just watch it for the CGI, the graphics, all that stuff. It is a visually beautiful movie. Things are well done. Nothing looks glitchy. Nothing looks out of place.
Cinematography is on point. I love the horror elements of it. It's not too scary, probably because they want kids to go see this movie. But I will say, like, this movie, they get away with a lot of stuff. Like we see neck snapping, bones cracking.
I mean,
heads explode.
They have a zombie. Doctor Strange. That's pretty different.
Yeah, so it's like there are a lot of horror elements in this where I was like, that's kind of scary and creepy. I'm sure some kids, like maybe not all the kids, but some kids probably left this theater being like, I don't want to watch that movie again. Like, you know what I mean? Like Wanda was a little scary for a lot of it, but in a good way. I think that was really cool. If I had to pick like a way to look to have Wanda as a villain visually in an MCU movie, this was a pretty great version of it. It's definitely not, what it is in the comics, but it's the movies. Things are changed, things get different. So I'm willing to accept those changes in this film, because I think it works better for this movie. I just think the plot is so bogged down with cameos and trying to like introduce so many story plot threads and stuff like that I will agree with the people who say the pacing's off for this film. It's very off because there's just so much going on at one time. So many elements they're introducing. They introduced the Darkhold and the Book of Ashanti. Two are the two most powerful.
Ashanti was in this movie?
Yes. Ashanti, pop singer, was in this film. No. Book of
honestly, I probably would have enjoyed it more.
No, the Book of Ashanti. The Book of Ashanti has a lot of her biggest hits in it, included but not limited to Rain on Me, which is my favorite Ashanti song.
She did a Rugrats song that I still love. Take Me Back.
But no, it's Take Me There and it's Maya.
Is it Maya? I thought it was like Ashanti.
Not even Ashanti.
Are you sure?
I'm
Hold on.
sure.
Jerome, give your grade because it's that time.
But yeah, I feel like this movie is, as I say, the pacing is off. They introduced two of the biggest mystical magic items in this movie in the world of magic in the Marvel universe, and they just skate on by those because they just don't have time to really go into them. So it's like, that's the thing for me, is that, and it's not that I need this movie to have every comic reference or anything like that in there, but I just really wish it had focused up a lot more on strictly Doctor Strange and the world of magic, as opposed to, we're doing multiverse, we're doing Illuminati, we're introducing characters, we got to introduce America and her universe, we got to deal with Wanda, introduce her things, the Darkhold, the like Carmotage, what's Wong up to. There's like so much going on.
Although I love Wong, I won't ever.
I mean, Wong is great, but it's just like, that's like another element. It's just like in The Heights when the shaved ice guy gets a thing. The shaved ice guy, played by Lin-Manuel Miranda, is a very nice dude, and he's like a cool character. Do we need to see what he's up to? No, we do not, because we already have way too many plots we're dealing with, but we do anyway. So it's like, there's a lot going on. That being said, my grade for this is probably sits at about, I want to say C- to maybe a C on average. I think it's like a fun movie. The visuals are great. It's directed really well, but that plot is just like, for me personally, it just is kind of all over the place. But if you are looking for a multiversal movie to sink your teeth into, first of all, watch Everything Everywhere All at Once, and then after you're done watching that movie, if you want like a double feature, watch Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Although, wouldn't it be better to watch if Everything Everywhere All at Once is the better movie? Wouldn't it be better to watch Doctor Strange first?
No, see, like, you got to do the workout, and then you need the cool down. Doctor Strange is the cool down. Everything Everywhere All at Once is the workout, because you're gonna need your brain to be thinking. You don't need anything else cloudy. Trust me, you need your brain turned on to follow that movie, because you will be lost otherwise.
It's true.
I give this movie like a C, and honestly, without the graphics and everything like that, I would probably grade it lower. I think it talks about the multiverse, but it doesn't really use the multiverse. Doesn't really show us the multiverses.
Yeah.
And I think that was misleading, because again, as I keep repeating, I'm a huge multiverse theory person. I love the idea, and I'm a full believer in it. So it's like, this wasn't really multiverse. We just saw destruction. And I get it. That's what Wanda's going through right now. And like Doctor Strange is trying to basically help out. But don't call a multiverse when you have like maybe two different Doctor Stranges and that's it. And then Wanda beating up another Wanda. That's really what we get with the multiverses. And it's a little disappointing. And, you get to see the mirror realm like one time when he is able to trap her for like a few minutes. And that was it. I think it felt almost like two movies in one. They were trying to just scoot everything in. And honestly, I don't know why they did that, because half of it was Wanda and half of it was Doctor Strange. The beginning part was definitely Doctor Strange and him meeting the other people from different multiverses. And that felt like it would have been a good way to introduce everybody, and then been like, hey, there's a threat going on, but it's not me. So like, I need to work with you guys to find this threat. And then, seeing that like, oh, the threat really is coming from our Earth. And then he's like, I need help. And then he goes to Wanda. And then there you go. You have the next movie, which is just everything Wanda's going through, and maybe jumping through another multiverses where we see her actually killing off different Wandas. Because you go to the Illuminati place and like, they never really even heard of Wanda. Like she's super powerful in our universe, but nowhere else.
Well, nowhere else. The idea they brought up in the Illuminati verse is that if Professor X exists, then the mutants exist. And if the mutants exist, then Wanda's probably been dealt with in that like, she has powers, but she's probably, because like, in the normal Marvel comics, Wanda's just like, I mean, she's powerful, but she's been dealt with easier, versus in the MCU, there are no mutants. So Wanda's one of a kind, which is why she's so powerful.
Yeah, but that's
compared
also
to,
just one universe.
I know. I'm just saying
That's the
that
whole
might
thing
be why
is-
they don't bring it up in their universe. Why they're like, well, Wanda's like
But
whatever.
Doctor Strange has never been dealt with, or he has been just killed off. So they're not really dealing with people. They're just murderers now at this point.
That's true. Because they just
So that's
killed
another.
Doctor
That's also another lazy plot, and I don't know if it's from like the books or from the comics or from like this movie.
No, that's original. They made that up.
Then that's a lazy. That's murder and death is always lazy to me. If you're just gonna kill somebody because they're like, we don't want to deal with them, just murder him off. That's a shitty way to deal with things. And I just felt like, felt like this movie just was like, there was just too many plot holes for me to enjoy it. And then after the movie, everybody's being like, oh, you have to understand Wanda. Oh, you have to know she's going through this and that. Like go into my head for like 5 minutes. And the fact that I'm not on a murderous rampage, it can be done. It is simple not to go on a murderous rampage. All right. Ask my therapist. She'd probably justify one if I went on one. Not going to go on one. But the point is, after everything, nobody is still watching Wanda. Are you kidding me? Tony Stark was the only one who was
she's
like,
dead.
No, beforehand.
Oh,
she put everybody in this. Nobody was watching her after that. She did
she
this.
helped save the world. She helped fight Thanos. So she gets a pass.
She almost destroyed multiple. She did destroy multiple universes.
That was after, but before that, it's like she helped save Thanos. I mean, she's enslaved. That was the other thing that upset me too. When Doctor Strange shows up, she's like, "I'm sorry, like, yeah, so I did enslave the people in New Jersey." And he's like, "I'm not here about that." I'm like, "Why aren't you here about that? That's a problem." Strange.
If somebody had literally been like, "All right, you know what, Wanda, you're gonna stay with me for like a week. We're gonna sort some stuff out." Probably this wouldn't have gotten so bad. But everybody left the highly mentally unchecked, powerful witch to her own accord after she has enslaved towns, killed multiple people with her magic on accident, of course, but she's still untrained. But they're like, hey, it's fine. Let her go off. When everybody else is just killing everybody else in other worlds. Honestly, she should have been dead with already. So like there's just too many plot holes and there's like too many ways of thinking, and just like I was like thinking, oh well, she could have done this, they could have done that. And I don't enjoy movies when I have to do that. I like to just lose myself. But this movie had me thinking that, and it wasn't in a good way, like, everything everywhere all at once. It wasn't a good way of thinking and enjoying the movie. So this movie has a C only because of the graphics, because they were beautifully done, because I enjoyed visually the movie. But everything else about the movie, I dislike so much.
Based on y'all's description, and I'm gonna rate here as well. I'll give a C minus, because of the reasons that you stated. Yes, because of the reasons that you stated, and because I want somewhere when I do eventually watch it, I want to go up. I don't want to have to set a high expectation and then be let down. I'd rather, set a low expectation and then be happy about what I saw. I also saw Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I have high expectations from that because I very much enjoyed that movie.
That movie,
that movie was amazing.
It was a good movie.
Do not think about that movie when you're watching this movie.
I'm kind of just done with the multiverse, and realistically, like in the Marvel universe, I mean, and to be quite honest, it's because I saw this coming. I knew the multiverse was going to be trouble when they introduced it into the MCU, because they're just using it as an excuse to throw in like 1,000 cameos and appease fans. It's why John Krasinski ended up being Fantastic Four, being Mr. Fantastic. It's why we got Patrick Stewart as Professor X. It's why we got 3 Spider-Men, and both the other 2 Spider-Men are played by people who've played Spider-Man before. Like, that's cool if done well. Otherwise, it just feels like pandering because you don't have any good ideas.
And it's a way to bring back people from the dead and kill off people, but then not actually have any real consequences.
In fact, one of the other fan things outside of John Krasinski, I don't know why I keep saying it that way, John Krasinski, as Mr. Fantastic, a lot of people were assuming that Iron Man was going to be in the Illuminati, but it was going to be based off of, a lot of people have been pitching, if the Avengers came out during the 90s, here's who would be cast. Not based off talent, though, based off of people who look like the characters. And their pick for Iron Man was Tom Cruise. And
I
there's
remember
all
seeing
this
that
fan
that
art.
meme. I remember seeing
Yeah,
it.
there's a lot of all this fan art of people having Tom Cruise as superior Iron Man, which is a run where Iron Man basically becomes like a villain essentially. And so a lot of people were theorizing, oh, and in this shot you see like robots and stuff, and you see this one thing, it's silhouette and it looks like an Iron Man suit, so it has to be Iron Man and it's probably Tom Cruise. And I was like, please don't do that. Please do not do Tom.
He's too busy with Top Gun,
You
Maverick.
already ruined the Mummy for me. Do not do that to me.
By the way, Top Gun Maverick just came out, and apparently it's really good. I kind
That's
of
what everyone's saying. Everyone likes Top Gun Maverick.
Well, they say Tom Cruise is the last action star, because if you think about it, it's not action anymore. That's the popular genre. It's superhero movies. So they say Tom Cruise is the last action star that can actually.
Okay, this is a discussion for another day because we're reaching Marvel level time.
I would argue Keanu Reeves is the last action star because Keanu Reeves is out here doing it, man. He's good.
But how well did the last Matrix actually do? Anyway, socials. Alex, what is your social media?
Damn. All right.
I'm sorry, I love Keanu Reeves.
No, hey, you watch it. That's my husband there. I am at Alex and Nobody on Instagram and on Twitter, although I don't really use Twitter. Also mainly on TikTok, where you can just see random things I do in my day, which is mainly hanging out with my sister's dogs and cheddar. I also handle the podcast TikTok account, where you'll see little clips and other little edits that I do just for funsies on there. What about you, Jonathan? Where are we finding you?
Yes, you can find me at Jonathan Keys on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you please. Jerome, where can we find you?
You can find me at Not Jerome Rat on Instagram, as well as at RoboZooMedia and at Jerome_the_show. To find out more other creative things I am working on. And also you can follow all of us at The First Ones to Die on all of our social medias. That includes Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff.
Give us a like, give us a subscribe.
Absolutely.
Give us a review if you're listening to this on audio.
If you want extra content, you can visit us at The First Ones to Die on YouTube for all types of extra content, like book reviews, mini reviews, gaming content, vlogs, all types of stuff. So, come on over there. See all types of extra content.
You're about to say sit back and relax, weren't you?
I think so. I don't know what I was going to say, but it started with an S for sure.
Okay, join us next week for Bob's Burgers review. I'm super excited, and there will also be a mini vlog up where I cook one of the Bob's Burgers. I got a gift from Lauren years ago of all the Bob's Burgers recipes. So come join me when I cook one.
And tune into our book review, The Hacienda.
Yeah. And we will see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.